Today I have another Palantir update to share. Usually I talk about the company Palantir Technologies itself, but today let's dive into this stock, and I'll share my thoughts on why I believe it is down over 20% in the last 2 weeks. I'll talk about whether or not I think it could potentially head back and test earlier support levels, or fall all the way to DPO prices. Let's go. So as is evident from anyone that has held Palantir for any number of months, this image right here that I found on the PLTR Reddit is a very apt description of PLTR stock. An optical illusion almost. You feel like you're going up, but then you end up going down. You feel like you're going down, and then you end up getting right back up again. And so what I did was I took the year-to-date chart almost. There's a little bit of December in here, but I used whiteout digitally to eliminate the two spikes that we had around the January timeframe. And you'll see that by doing that, you have a very nice range right here. From a high of around 28 that got tested a few times in the first couple months to a low that we faced a little bit above $17.50. Of course, the stock did ultimately get below $16 and around to 35 cents pre-market before the Q1 earnings report. But that was a very turbulent time for the stock, and it's not showing on the chart because it happened in the pre-market. So anyway, the point being, this is a very range-bound stock right now. And while it may seem like it is headed for lows that we haven't seen since the stock DPO'd, I actually believe Palantir will remain in the low to high 20 range until there is anything to take it out of such range. Sure, as we've seen in this chart, it could dip below $20. I'm not offering trading advice. You can find other channels for that. I'm just talking about the stock in relation to the company. And the point of all of this dialogue is to say, if you look at the May around 14th here, it was a little before 14th, May 11th was Palantir's Q1 earnings report, and that's when we see some serious volume here. The stock finally bounced off of the lows it was facing and rallied up to almost $28, around 27 or so, off from 17. And you'll see serious volume before then, mid-February, and before that in December, the December range right there. So my point is, I think the stock's direction is going to be heavily dictated by Palantir's earnings report for Q2 in early August. It's August 10th, I believe. Whether the stock is headed even lower or will find support and go higher is very much going to be driven by the earnings power of Palantir and how close they get to profitability, how many new contracts they pick up, etc. I'll save my predictions for a later video, but now I want to look at ARK Invest again because we're getting more towards the buying range where they have been buying previously. And of course, I talked about how ARK Invest on June 28th and 30th actually sold some Palantir stock in ARKW. Well, if we have a look at their chart here, when they were buying most recently was actually, and we'll exclude when they were buying at $25 and $29 and those other prices because that was when they were just establishing their position. But when they were buying the most heavily, stock was at $23, $21, $19, $18, and a little over 18 and 20 again. So I do think, considering how it sold at 27, kind of started this downward spiral a little bit. Of course, we have more of the rotation out of growth and towards other stocks that seems to be constantly happening, with Apple stock hitting $2.5 trillion for the first time, or almost. I'm not sure if that actually happened, but very close. And stocks like Palantir suffering on supposed higher inflation, which means higher interest rates, which means growth stocks suffer because of the long-term debt they carry. So I do expect ARK Invest to be buying back in with either ARKW and or ARKK into Palantir stock shortly if we do see more short-term weakness to $20 or under $20, because that is where their cost basis seems to reside more recently. So anyway, I just wanted to make this update to talk about why Palantir stock has fallen 20%. And I do believe it's more of a rotation. It has to do with Palantir stock rallying 60%. You're not going to have such a run-up like that and see even more upside, especially if you want it to be a healthy gain. You need to give some back before you can move higher. And I'm really not trying to give any advice here because I do think the stock's movement will depend upon earnings, and that really could go either way. And last thing I'll close with today is another picture I got from r/PLTR, which is of the institutional ownership charted in a Bloomberg terminal. So you'll see a number 13 there on the side has increased 50 58%. So the number of institutions holding Palantir from March 28th to today, or whenever this came out, has actually increased 58%, as you can see in the graph there at the bottom. A very strong sign that institutions are buying and holding Palantir stock. That will only continue to build the base for this stock, and I know there is a lot of volatility. This is one of the most volatile names on the market, mainly due to the retail interest in it, but that is trending in the right direction. So I'll leave it there for now. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Do you think Palantir will beat earnings in August and send the stock higher, or test prices we have not yet seen? Personally, I think they're going to have a very strong quarter. Until next time.